Good evening. The views and opinions of guests on this program, Adventures into the Strange, are not necessarily the views and opinions of the host, staff, crew, or parent company, Go Shield Entertainment Group, LLC. Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoy the program.
And we're back. And this is Tucklow and Ashoba. I want to welcome KXLA and their 7 affiliate stations back into the fold. Of course, you folks will be hearing this at 3 o'clock in the morning rather than noon my time and 1 Richard's time. And we're back with Richard G. Medlock. So without further ado, I'm going to let him take over. Take it, brother.
Thank you, Tucklow. Good day. Greetings, fellow Earthlings. We're happy to be back. And it's a beautiful day, beautiful weather. Yeah, we're getting hammered here in the South, and Tucklow's getting hammered out in Oklahoma with thunderstorms, and they wreak havoc on the things we're trying to do. But we're here today, and hopefully we'll get through this program and move forward through the week. Welcome to World Reality. This is a program where we educate, entertain, enlighten, and empower, and also where we promote free thinking. We'd like to start out today. Our condolences go to 2 greats in their industry. The first is B.B. King, who passed away this weekend. You don't get much better than B.B. King, and not a lot of people have achieved what that man did in his lifetime. And then the next goes out to Lauren Bacall, a great actress and a classy lady.
That's a little bit of delayed information. Lauren Bacall actually died last year, and somebody took it upon themselves to post it. But go ahead. I'm sorry. I just needed to inform you that she had passed last year.
Well, you know, I thought so. I was reading that. Anyway, she's a classy lady. If you've never seen her movies with Humphrey Bogart, who she ended up marrying, there's a lot of synergy between those two. It was fun to watch. But a lot of things are just happening. I've got 2 pages of notes and other things going on today. The first thing, I haven't talked about the earthquakes in Nepal, just devastating earthquakes. And Kathmandu was greatly damaged. I think the last death count was close to 4,000. And then they had a second earthquake near the India border, which was a 7.3. And matter of fact, my sister-in-law, a good friend of hers, and I'm not going to give his name, but he goes all over the world climbing these mountains. And he was on the mountain. He was on Mount Everest when the earthquake hit. It took him 2 weeks to get down and out. Matter of fact, he just got home. Lulabelle got a text, I think, this weekend saying that he just got home. He's out of Utah. And his wife had flown home like 3 or 4 days before the earthquake. So they had to hike out, get to a place, get a ride, get over to Kathmandu, and then finally get to an airport. to get out of there. So at one point, he said he didn't think he was going to make it. And I'm sure a lot of people in that situation felt the same. But here's the kicker, the information about Nepal that, to put it into perspective, why there was so much damage. And this is from the satellite imaging that they do around the world. And before the earthquake, they did a reading about 2 weeks before the earthquake. And they did one about a week after, when the satellite went over. There was a stretch along Kathmandu, 70 miles long and 30 miles wide, where the earth rose 3 feet. Now, that's a lot of movement to have 70 miles long, 30 miles wide, rise 3 feet. That's why there was so much damage. The other thing that it caused, because that went up, there was space underneath. Mount Everest lost, they're saying, an inch. So it's now an inch less taller than it was before the earthquake. So that's why that earthquake was so just so damaging out there. I guess you've seen the news about Dominique Sharpton,
The mountain climbing with a badly sprained ankle, Dominique Sharpton.
right, the one that's in Bali right now. She apparently tripped over a sidewalk in New York and sprained her ankle, and is suing the city of New York for $5 million for pain and suffering. Now, so the daughter doesn't fall far from the dad, Al Sharpton. The problem here is, in the city of New York, they don't litigate these claims. They settle. They sit down, negotiate, write a check, and move on. Well, that's a bad precedent, because a few years ago in the city of Seattle, all of a sudden the city was getting all of these nuisance lawsuits from people. Oh, they tripped on the sidewalk or something else that the city was supposed to maintain. So the city council got together and they made one decision, and they sent a letter out to every attorney in that area, to every attorney. And here's what the letter said: the city of Seattle will henceforth start litigating all of these lawsuits. Every lawsuit that comes our way, we're going to go to court. And guess what? No more lawsuits. Stopped, period. But here we have a situation, and it's a problem on both ends. Oh, let's just settle it, get it out of the way. The insurance will cover it. And, give them 10 cents on the dollar and we'll move on. Well, that's not good. But anyway, she's falling into that trap. And while she's on vacation in Bali, she's texting and tweeting everybody about her situation. And so my heart goes out for Dominique Sharpton, as far as it can go, I guess. And that's not very far.
You need to turn your volume down just a hair. You're echoing pretty bad.
I will do that. Let me swing over here. Is that a little bit better?
Yeah, the in the bucket sound just left. Okay.
All righty. It's amazing. We have to adjust that almost every show. But that's fine. That's what technology is all about these days. Put this back up. All right. Last Tuesday, excuse me, I talked about Pete Townsend, where he said, because of what's going on in the world and because of terrorists, we need to keep our guns and ammos close. Well, there's a reason he said that. Because basically the same day he said that, and right after, they come out from our esteemed government, this administration, and the director of Homeland Security, and said, well, it's not our responsibility to take care of you. And then they say, oh, we have ISIS cells all over the US, but it's not our responsibility to track them down. Well, that's very comforting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Coming from a government where the Constitution, the number one thing that the government is supposed to do is to protect its citizens. So now, to put this in a little bit of context, folks, the liberals want to take our guns away, but then they don't want to protect us. So that makes a whole world of sense, doesn't it? So that's why Pete Townsend of The Who said, keep your guns and your ammo close. It is amazing, almost every day in the news, and it might be in your area, but even around this area, a homeowner or a neighbor takes out an intruder with, guess what? Yeah, guns and ammo. I don't know when these criminals are going to wake up a little bit and say, hey, if I walk into somebody's house and I'm causing a problem, I should expect to get blown away. I guess because they're on so many drugs, they can't think clearly. They just need to go steal something to get a quick fix. Apparently, either that or they have a death wish. All right. I'm just trying to get some things out of the way here before we get into the economy and some geopolitics. Last week, the jury in Boston, the federal jury, sentenced Tsarnaev to death for the bombing at the Boston Marathon, which killed several people and maimed quite a few others. Now, it was interesting to listen to the diatribe take place between anti-death penalty and death penalty. Most of the diatribe came from the anti-death penalty. Oh, you can't put him away. You can't give him the death penalty. That's just inhuman. Well, I'm sorry. Who committed the inhuman act? And number one, he's a coward. He and his brother are cowards. A true Muslim is a suicide bomber, correct? Am I correct? But anyway, they were planning, that was not going to be their only bombing. They were going to plan more. But he's given the death penalty. And there were some pretty good comments by family members of the victims and from a couple of victims, and felt like this will bring closure, et cetera, et cetera. I thought it was interesting what one family member said about someone, their family member died. And it said, look, he's 21 years old. I think he should be tortured the rest of his life. Well, that carries a lot of weight. It really does. But here is Richard G. Medlock's opinion on what should happen to Tsarnaev. And a lot of you will probably think I'm wacko and I'm cruel and unusual. I am unusual. I don't know if I'm cruel, but he's, I think we should strap him down and take a little bit of C4, strap it around each ankle, some more C4, strap it around each knee, a little C4 around each hip, a little C4 around each wrist, a little C4 around each elbow, and a little C4 around each shoulder. And start setting them off one at a time. And have a pretty good space between each explosion. I mean, this could go on for days. I mean, really, seriously. He was given the death penalty, right? It just didn't say how it needed to be carried out. So I think that would give him a feel for what he did to the victims. And then eventually he would die, and then get that feeling. And then he can go face his 72 virgins, which are 82-year-old men. But
You're cruel, Richard.
well,
You're
yeah, that's where
cruel
my
dude.
cruelty
That's
comes
all I
in.
got to say on it. Of course, I agree with you, but you're still a cruel dude.
I'm still what?
A cruel dude.
That's true. But he's, this guy, yeah, so he's 21 years old. I don't think we should spend another penny to support him. Yeah, go lock him in a cell. Hey, you want food? Well, that's tough. You want heat? You want air? That's tough. Suffer. It's not our problem. And this is what they understand. They only understand force. They don't understand talking. They don't understand negotiations. They understand force. And if we start treating the Muslim terrorist the way they should be treated, maybe this could slow down a little bit. You meet force with force and it goes away.
I got to put a little anecdote in here, and I agree with you 110%. I have a few folks that listen to the program that are friends of mine on Facebook, a few that belong to some chat rooms and stuff. And I had a couple of friends of mine on Facebook this week. I was in a little discussion group I participate in, and I made the statement that I like a steak once in a while. And they basically cussed me out, told me I'd die a horrible death because I brought up during the discussion, well, don't you think plants feel pain? And they said, well, we pray to the plants and ask forgiveness before we eat them. And they were real. I got castigated. I got drugged through boiling oil over the deal, figuratively. Well, anyway, a friend of mine, whose name I will not mention, but his initials are Rick Cruz, put a notice on my Facebook page of these hippies sobbing and crying about some dead trees out in the forest. And I got thinking, that is just about a perfect example of the liberal mindset. They totally do not live in reality. And that's my take on it.
Well, and you're correct. And I saw your post on that on Facebook. And again, they're putting themselves in a position to judge others. And that's not what life is about. You want to eat meat? Fine. You want to be a vegetarian? Fine. Go do it. The line is drawn where you're trying to shove it down other people's throat. And the same thing with the LGBT thing. So, but they get upset because they can't convince you to go out there and just live off berries and leaves. So, who was the guy back in the 70s that ate bark?
Oh, I can't remember.
You remember that? It was a big thing.
No, actually, when that was going on, I was ducking bullets, but go ahead.
All righty. Okay. But back in the 70s, this guy, I can't remember his name, and he was pushing all this, but he would eat bark off trees. And then all of a sudden, he has a heart attack.
Oh, I know who you're talking about, the grape nuts guru.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it'll come to me sooner or later.
Yeah. I mean, I hadn't thought of that for a long time, but that's some of the I hate to use the word wacko stuff, but they go off to one extreme with something and it ends up killing them. We got to have a balance of everything in our lives, and including what we eat. Now, if Tucklow sat there and ate steak 3 times a day, then yeah, I say, Tucklow, back it up a little bit. But you have a steak what? 3 times a week?
Oh, about once a week.
Yeah, once a week. Okay. Well, I eat a lot of fish and chicken. Does that make me a bad person?
Yes, it does. I just want you to know that. I had to say that.
Well, I'm going to cry over that when we get off the show.
I'm messing with him, folks.
So you've cut me deep there, Tucklow. So,
Yeah, I figured I did. It's about time.
Yeah. So when we get back from the break in a couple of minutes, I think we got about a minute or less to the break.
A minute, yeah, something like that. We'll know when the.
Yeah, we're going to get into the economy. See, there it goes. There's some interesting things that the last couple of days that you need to understand and put into perspective. So we'll be right back after this break. Do not go anywhere.
We join Agnes and Wilbur in another edition of As the Stomach Churns.
These fried pies are delicious, Wilbur. How'd you ever come across something like this? I totally appreciate the flavor, the texture, and the taste.
Well, it's like this, Agnes. I stumbled across this place one time because my mule, named after you, Agnes.
Wait a minute. You mean you named your mule after me?
Why, yeah. My mule's a work of art, just like you. And she likes Arbuckle Mountain fried pies, just like you.
We will discuss this later.
And we're back. Had to run a little actual commercial there, Richard. Take it away.
Well, Wilbur and Agnes just keep chugging along.
Yeah.
I want to before we get into the economy, do a shout out to the University of Louisiana Lafayette and the Baylor Bears fans. Yesterday at an NCAA softball game, as part of the tournament, year-end tournament, the announcer came on at the stadium and said, "We do not have time to do the national anthem."
Whoa.
Whoa. So what did the fans do? They broke out singing the national anthem. The players stopped their warm-ups, put their hands over their hearts, and sang along with the fans. Now, here's my message to that announcer and anybody else who was involved with making that decision. Take your Marxist, fascist, pinko communist fanny and leave. That's all I got to say about that. But kudos. Americans are getting tired of being pushed around. Americans are getting tired of being told the United States sucks. Americans are getting tired of it. They're standing up. And to just, this is happening, folks. They're attacking the flag. They're attacking the Pledge of Allegiance. In God we trust. They're attacking everything that this country was founded on. And we're going to stand up and fight. And we're going to win this fight. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow. But folks, we're going to win this. These fascist, Marxist, pinko communists are not going to win. And I'm sure some of you are out there going, what's a pinko communist? You got to go back to the 60s and 70s, folks. Go Google it, pinko communist, and you'll find out what it is. It's not a good term, folks. All right, the economy. To set some things in balance here, the Bank of America came out with a report over the weekend, and it was not a good report about the stock market, about the rest of 2015. Here's the first line in their report. Investors might want to add a little cash and some gold to their portfolio's summer outfit. Now, bottom line on this report, and I'm going to get into a little bit of things on here. Bottom line, Bank of America Merrill Lynch is saying times aren't going to be good in the summer and maybe not even in the fourth quarter. And you better start protecting yourself. So they're saying go to cash or go to gold. And a lot more people are saying that, especially over the last 2 weeks. And there's a lot of people on Wall Street, some of the good guys, that are sitting there telling us, we're selling everything off. We're cashing out. The stock market's at record highs right now. They've never been here before. And you got these crazies over here going, buy, better get into the market, better get into the market. And then the reality people sitting over here saying, you know what? This thing, when it goes, when it crashes, you better not be there. And if you're there, you better be in a short position. And, right now, if I were in a strong position, I might take half of it and short it, and then take the other half and go to cash. And if the market drops, that's fine. I make money. I go back in and cover my position and make money. But Bank of America Merrill Lynch has come out, and they're forecasting a grim summer of stocks this year. In other words, it might be wise to apply ample dollops of market correction block in addition to any sunscreen you might wear. So basically, in taking their words, what I just said, it's a good time, lay off this summer. While falling short of calling for an outright bear market, which needs a rise in interest rates and a decline in earnings per share. And we have the decline in earnings per share. Earnings for the first quarter were bad. And Bank of America is painting a ugly picture for investors over the next several months. They call it, the investors are trapped in the twilight zone. It's between the ending of quantitative easing and raising of interest rates. Well, raising of interest rates to start with are not going to be that good. That's going to affect the bond market, and it's going to affect stocks to the negative side. So we're in for some pretty tough times ahead. The economy continues to come out with negative news. Now, today, this is a positive report. New housing permits and starts were up last month to a little over 1.1 million per year, the highest level it's been in 7 years. Now, this is permits and starts. This isn't sales. There's a difference. Yesterday, the builders' sentiment came out, and it was down. Builders are saying, we think it's going to be real soft going ahead. This is May. Normally, from April to October is a very strong housing market. It's not starting that way. It's still just stagnating. Now, you can go out and have building permits and starts. And remember, you got a pretty good percentage that are multifamily or apartments. But we're sitting here looking at a situation, interest rates are low, mortgage rates have been low for a long time, and it's not moving. And they're saying, oh, when rates go up, then that means that more people are employed and they'll start buying homes. Well, the mentality within the millennials is, why should I buy a home? I have all these added expenses. Something breaks, I got to fix it. Have insurance cost, and there's not a lot of increase in value. It's a terrible investment. And plus, they don't have the jobs. Plus, those that went to school, went to college, have a massive college debt, student loan debt. And student loan debt is now up to 15%, get this, 15% of debt in this country. Student loan debt. That's a lot of debt to start paying off. And it's not going to be paid off. And then, of course, Bernie Sanders, who's running for president, comes out and says, with this proposal, oh, free college education for everybody. Now, that's fine. Who's going to pay for it? The universities aren't going to pay for it. Oh, the government will pay for it. Oh, great. The government must have all this excess money sitting out there just waiting to be spent. And whenever they have money, guys, it's your and my money that's sitting there. But putting that into context, now, Hewlett-Packard is selling their Chinese division to a Chinese company. So they're going to get money back from there. That's probably a good move on their part. It's going to give them some good cash. What they're going to do with it, I don't know. Maybe they're going to look at improving their product. I mean, they do have a pretty good product, but anyway, they're selling off China. Maybe that's a sign. China's economy is going down. China, they have their national debt's 282% of their GDP, and they're increasing their debt daily. But here's the thing that will help you put all of this into one nice package with a bow. Walmart came out today with their first quarter earnings report. Sales were down about $400 million, and their earnings were down about 4%. And your first reaction is, oh man, that's telling us the economy isn't doing that well. That's true. The same thing with McDonald's coming out. Their sales are down 3-4%. And other retailers coming out saying their sales are down. Matter of fact, yesterday, the retail sales year to year. So from last April to this April, retail sales only increased 0.9%. That's flat. 0.9%. Walmart said their year-to-year sales increased 1%. So that's in line with the national number. But here's some other things to look at Walmart. Walmart announced a couple of months ago they were going to increase their minimum wage at their stores to $9 an hour. Put that in context here. That takes from the bottom line. That doesn't take from sales, but it takes from the bottom line. McDonald's has announced they're going to increase their minimum wage at corporate-owned stores. How's that going to affect the bottom line? Well, it is going to affect. It's another cost going out the door. Now, granted, yes, going to their employees. Employees should have more money to spend. But if you look at, you get $1 raise at that level, you might get to take home 50 cents of that. because all of a sudden it puts you in a little higher bracket and more taxes are going to come out. Hey, you didn't think about that, did you? So the other thing to look at Walmart is gas prices have declined. So in the first quarter with low gasoline prices, then that affected sales at Walmart as well. So there were a lot of things there pounding on their earnings, not just the economy. Yeah, the economy's slow. And the other thing that it tells us is that all this so-called money that people were saving from lower gas prices, they're not going to the store and spending it. So we can take what's going on with just out of their Walmart's report today and glean a lot of things about what's going on in the economy. Now, the Democrats have backed down. The Democrats in the House have proposed a bill to raise minimum wage to $12 an hour. They did want $15 an hour. So now they're back down to 12. Well, again, we have seen Seattle did it. Well, not Seattle, a suburb of Seattle did it. And restaurants started going out of business. They were now having to pay their servers, their cooks, everybody $15 an hour. People were having to pay higher prices to eat there. The servers that were interviewed were saying, I'm taking home less money now than before when I was getting tips, because people aren't tipping now. They're having to pay higher food prices. So businesses are going out of business. So that city is looking at revoking that $15 minimum. Now, other cities are sitting here looking at it. San Francisco has done it. It just hasn't taken effect yet. Here we go. These pinko communists are forcing an economy on you. They're forcing you to run your business the way they want you to run it. It's called macroprudential policy. And what they're trying to force you to do is not make any money. They don't think businesses or corporations should make any money. It either goes to the employees or it goes to the government. Period. That's what they're looking at. And that's what we're dealing with on a local level, state level, and a federal level. So you wonder why the economy is not going anywhere? It's very simple. High taxes, because taxes have gone up under this administration, especially under the Obamacare bill. That was nothing but a tax bill. And we're seeing other fees, and we're seeing 175,000 pages of regulations, federal regulations that are on the books now. 175,000 pages. And it is costing corporations and businesses billions and billions of dollars to implement or meet those regulations. And it's costing jobs. We go back, I attacked John Boehner a couple of weeks ago because he made the comment, oh, Obamacare has been good for the economy. You know, we gave a dozen reasons why it was bad. The one thing that I missed in that list was the number of people, not only that lost their job, but the number of people that lost their insurance, but the number of people, millions of people that went from full-time workers to part-time workers. Full-time to part-time, 30 hours a week. We have changed the landscape of employment in this country to fit what the pinko communists want. It's going to be interesting to see how many other people start using pinko communist after today. That's a phrase that's been dead for 30 years. But speaking of dead, we're at our next break, and which is good because I need a drink of water. So we'll be right back. Tucklow will hit his buttons and do his magic, and we'll be right back.
And we're back with Richard G. Medlock. Take it away, Richard.
Yeah, and I think that's me. And boy, that good ice cold water tasted good, but I missed my mouth and it's all down my shirt. I think it's off camera, but it's all down my shirt. So, what
We're
is
getting
water?
old. It's just you're getting old. I'm getting old. We're all getting old, and things just aren't as accurate as they used to be.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to figure out the difference between your eye and your nose, but
Yep.
we'll survive. Going back to the economy, back several months ago, there was a big whoop-de-doo about this tax inversion thing, where a corporation was deciding to take its American headquarters and move it overseas. And several corporations have done this, despite the fact that the administration and the IRS went in straight attack mode after these corporations, and the IRS changed their rulings and regulations about it and says, well, you can't move until you've paid all your back taxes, da 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 da. And I don't have any problem with that, but they actually stopped Walgreens, et cetera, et cetera. And now Walgreens is having to close 500 stores because of the higher taxes they're still having to pay. But anyway, one company moved their headquarters to Ireland, and it's Endo, E-N-D-O. Now they're in the news right now because they've made a big bid to buy Par Pharma, which is a pharmaceutical company, which is what Endo does. But they're in Ireland. Now, what this is all going to do for Endo, if they stayed in the United States and they purchased Par Pharmaceutical, their tax rate would stay at 41%. That's federal and state taxes. By moving to Ireland, which has a very low tax rate, Endo's tax rate will drop to 16%. 16%. Now, that's how you do business. So we're sitting here, the United States has the highest corporate tax rate of 39.7%. And we're trying to go after earnings outside of the United States. Now, Ireland has this really nice law. It says we only tax what you make in Ireland. What you make outside of here, we could care less about. Those are really good business-friendly rules and regulations. But not in the United States, not with the pinko communists running the administration, and they've been doing it for years. And there's a lot of Republicans that fall into this. It's not just Democrats that have gone along with this and voted it through and get greedy. They just want our money, just like who was the black House representative the other day came out and he says, we don't have enough of your money. Yeah, right. Well, maybe you need to get a life somewhere. But Indocorp is a good example of why things are not progressing in the United States. They're going from 41% down to 16% effective tax rate because they left the United States. This is why there's not a lot of corporations coming in here. Just announced last week that Volvo is building their first auto plant in South Carolina, but they cut some deals for the first few years. They're not paying taxes the first few years. So that's a pretty good incentive. But then after that, they're going to get hit pretty good. But they want to plant here in the United States. And I don't blame them. The next thing that we're looking at that's slowing down the economy, and we discussed this in the past, is capital expenditures, what we refer to as CapEx. Right now, the projections continue to drop for the rest of the year. A lot of corporations are sitting here saying, we'll revisit this in the fourth quarter. Revisit, not spend, revisit. What that means is in the fourth quarter, when they're planning their budgets for next year, they will decide if they're going to do some capital expenditures. And again, the decision might be not to do that. So what's happening versus capital expenditures? You can borrow money for almost nothing, thanks to the Federal Reserve. So these corporations are going out borrowing money at 0 or 0.25%, and they're buying back millions of shares of stock in their own corporation on borrowed money. Now, folks, that's a bad policy. I don't care how you look at it, how you try to justify it or rationalize it, that's a bad policy. So what the Federal Reserve has done in this environment has created a desire by corporations to go out and do bad policy. Now, this affects the stockholders. It affects earnings. It makes earnings look better because there's less shares on the market. Earnings is only reported on public shares. So when a corporation buys them back, earnings are not attributed to those. It's only those out in the market. So that makes their earnings look a little bit better. And it still hasn't helped the last 2 quarters. So there's a lot of just bad environment that has been created by the Federal Reserve that corporations are trying to take it, they think are taking advantage of, and in the long run, it's going to bite them in the rear end. This is where we are, folks. It's not pretty out there. It really isn't. And Bank of America, in their report, put that picture out there. And if you want to listen to it, basically, I heard one guy, I was talking to him this morning. He says, basically, we need to just go to the bunker. Take our money and gold and go to the bunker. And I said, well, that's a good way to put it. And wait this thing out. And I've done that before. I've done it several times since the 1970s, and just go to the bunker and wait it out. And you're much better off. And I've sit there and watched other people trying to, I can figure things out. I'll work it out. And they end up losing, if not all of it, a lot of it. Folks, the market will beat you to death if you don't know what you're doing. And if you have a bad advisor on top of that. Supreme Court ruling. Did you see this, Tucklow?
No, I did not. What did they rule on?
Well, they ruled on a couple of things. I want to talk about a couple of things here. The first one is they ruled that the state of Maryland cannot tax income earned outside of the state of Maryland. Listen, folks, that's a major, major decision on the side of taxpayers. Because there's a lot of people, and I know them, they work in several states. And they get income from different states, and they have to file returns in different states. So Maryland was saying, okay, if you file a return in another state or if you made income there, you've got to pay taxes on it in Maryland. Now the Supreme Court says you can't do that. Well, that's going to affect a whole bunch of other states now. A lot of states do that. New York is one of the worst. New York, let's say you fly to New York to have a meeting, and you're in New York for one day. You fly in the night before, have your meetings in the morning, early afternoon, and then you fly out. So you're there for one day. They might count it as 2 days because of the calendar. They're going to say now, because you sat in the state of New York and you did business, we get 2 days, whatever percentage that is, of your income. That's state of New York. Now, they can also come back with their formulas and say, let's say I fly to New York and I cut a real estate deal. And out of that real estate deal, I made $100,000. They're going to say you earned that in the state of New York, so you've got to pay taxes on that $100,000 because you signed the deal while you were sitting in New York. This is how greedy politicians are. This is why they make comments, we don't have enough of your money. This is it. Americans are getting tired of this. They really are. The second Supreme Court decision. And a lot of people are overlooking this. They're thinking, this was not in mainstream media, but they made a ruling in favor of YouTube. YouTube went to court, and I take this back. This is not Supreme Court. This was the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, which is the most liberal appeals court in this country. And that covers California. They're the ones that have shot down every election in California that was conservative and said you can't do that. They're the ones that told the Californians that voted 61% against same-sex marriage, and that court sat there and said you can't do that. You don't know what you're doing. Okay. Ninth Circuit Court ruled yesterday that the YouTube video, Innocence of Muslims, should not have been forced off of YouTube by the U.S. government. Now, you're sitting there, what do you mean, innocence of Muslims? What video? Tucklow, you know what it is?
No, I do not.
That is the video that the Obama administration said caused the Benghazi attack.
Oh, wow. Huh. Came home to roost, did it?
Came home to roost. Now, it's going to be interesting to see if the U.S. government appeals that decision to the U.S. Supreme Court. I mean, why bother? But the court says you had no right to force YouTube to take that down. Remember, this is a video that only like 21 people had watched. And the Obama administration came out and said, that video is what caused the Benghazi attack. Well, now it's being shoved down their throats. I was going to say shoved up, but shoved down their throats. So
they have to shove it up somewhere else, which would be equally funny. But go ahead.
Yeah, but we're on a family show.
On this show, though, folks.
Yeah, we're on a family show. So, two big rulings that came out in favor of the American people. And again, a lot of people are going to say, innocence of Muslims. That was, I watched part of it. It was so bad. Not that it was attacking Muslims. It was just so bad, so badly done. It was hard to watch. I think the only people that watched it were the people that were in it. And
Probably.
Probably. So Crazy, crazy. So, and I'm sure that's one thing that the administration doesn't want out there on the airways. Again, this goes back to pinko communist agendas. You got to do what we want you to do when we want you to do it. And now it's coming back and haunting them. Just like I'm not going to say a lot about George Stephanopoulos other than he's a blithering idiot. But folks, he was Bill Clinton's chief of staff. And then he left there and went directly to ABC. And for anybody to sit there and think that he was not a plant by the Clintons to be out there fronting for them, I feel sorry for you. I mean, it was totally obvious. And he's done that through the years. And I mean, I don't watch the guy. I don't listen to the guy. And he's not worth wasting your time. Although ABC now is swallowing a $105 million pill. Like 2 weeks before this happened, they just re-signed him to a 7-year, $105 million deal. Seriously? $105 million for sitting there reading script? It's crazy. All right, and we're well, I have to look at the right clock here. Excuse me. I said this to Tucklow yesterday. The House Democrats want the FCC to require disclosure of sponsors of political issue ads. Now, there's some words there we need to focus on. Number one, you're aware of the FCC and their net neutrality ruling on February 26th. It affected our show and affected a whole lot of other people's shows, and it affected a whole lot of businesses. And it shut some businesses down. Now, and they're not giving extensions to people that are applying to say, give us more time to meet the minimum standards. They're saying, nope, no extensions. That's telling us there's a political agenda there. All right. FCC to require disclosure of sponsors. That means whoever is paying for that ad has to be listed on the ad. Or now you have a credit section, just like at the end of the program. Here are the credits. Okay. Joe the plumber paid for this ad. I guess they don't want them just putting there the re-elect Joe Blow committee paid for this ad. They don't want that. The other thing is it says political issues, not a political ad, which normally we think of someone running for office or an ad against a particular bill or something like that. Okay, or we are against gun control, or we're for gun control, et cetera, right? So political issue ads. Now, who's to decide what's the political issue? Does the FCC get to decide? Who gets to decide that? Is there going to be a list of things that identify what a political issue ad is? I doubt that. They're just going to have a committee sitting there deciding what is and is not a political issue. Again, pinko communist agenda. We're going to control political ads, issue ads in this country. This is what the House Democrats want. Well, it's going to be interesting to see how far that goes, to see how many Republicans will fall in line with this and say, you know what? That's not a bad idea. Well, any control from the government is a bad idea. And we're going to our top of the hour break. We'll be right back. Perfect timing. Take it away, Tuckrow.
John F. Kennedy said, "Leadership and learning are indispensable to each other." At Empower Training Group, we take John Kennedy's counsel very serious. As a leader, you are striving to be the best at what you do and help others do the same. But a leader cannot stand still in knowledge or effort to accomplish those goals. Our course on sensible leadership is designed and structured to brighten your path and stretch your thinking to maximize the already leadership skills you use every day. Empower Training Group is not limited to leadership training. Our developmental courses are a diverse selection to educate in improving communication skills, team building, team management, how to become a leader or manager, and train the trainer. We develop the courses to meet your goals and expectations. We direct our instruction to your specific audience or employees' needs, and we are not limited to those courses listed above. Empower Training Group also instructs and certifies in health and safety courses. These are OSHA-approved courses to prepare your staff and employees for emergency situations. We can also arrange to conduct these courses online. Information on Empower Training Group can be found at www.richardmedlock.org or email at empowertg@gmail.com. Richard Medlock says, "Leadership is not about power. Leadership is about empowerment."
And we're back with Richard G. Medlock, the man with the plan. Take it away.
We do have a plan. And also you can contact me at hrod17@clintonmail.com. You're not laughing, Tucklow.
It went over my head. Clinton Mail.
That is one of the email addresses
yes,
of Hillary Clinton.
I forgot. Yeah, that's that would be Chelsea Clinton's alternate email address as well. I forgot.
Yes, absolutely. So it's interesting, and I didn't even have the Clintons on my list. Two pages of list here today. Not even on the list. There's so much being said. Their narrative is being blown apart, folks. It is just coming out more and more that they are nothing but power greedy liars. That's all I'm going to say.
The sad part of that is, and folks that know me know that I have an awful lot of friends in the movie and music business. A lot of buddies in Nashville, a lot of buddies in Los Angeles in the music, and a whole lot of A-list actors in Hollywood. And 90% of them just think Hillary's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And I pin them down and ask them why. And they, well, she just needs to be president. If they can't come up with a specific explanation, all they can say is, She just needs to be president. It's time.
Well, and going with that, a poll came out yesterday that said that like 40% of the people are going to vote for her no matter what. That's what's so scary here, folks. Where's their thinking? They're not thinking. They're just following the crowd. They're sheep.
It amazes me they can be that stupid. I mean, I hate to, well, I don't hate to say it. Let me tell you, folks, if you're listening, you're voting for Hillary Clinton, if she gets on the ballot, and I don't believe she will, but if she does and you vote for her, you are an idiot and you deserve what is going to happen to you. You do not have a clue. We do not have rulers in this country, folks. It's not how it's supposed to be set up. They serve us, not the other way around. Okay, I'm off my rant.
Okay, well, you ranted pretty clean there. You kept it civil. I don't think the FCC is going to do anything to you. So Tucklow's getting better at that. I got a whole things going on here. You saw the other day in Egypt where the courts sentenced Morsi to death. He was the leader that led the Muslim Brotherhood raid with the Obama backing to take over Egypt. And of course, the military took them out. And now they're all being tried and all those leaders are being sentenced to death. Well, Morsi gets convicted and then he gets sentenced to death. Guess how the United States administration is reacting to that?
No idea.
They are concerned with that sentence that there's going to be a war against the Muslim Brotherhood.
Okay.
I mean, this is what's coming out of the administration. Experts see war on Muslim Brotherhood.
You can't make this up, folks. It boggles the mind.
It really does. And guess what Obama was doing Sunday?
No idea.
Okay. He was commemorating Sunday as International Day Against Homophobia and Transphobia. I know this is alarming, folks. He's out there with all the guys in their little tutus and dancing down the street. But anyway.
Now I'm going to get in trouble with the FCC. I've got to say something here. I've kept my mouth shut long enough. I have friends on Facebook and in several chat rooms I belong to that are liberal, talking about what a great husband and father that our illustrious POTUS is. Folks, nothing could be further from the truth. The only thing I'm going to say on this is there is a guy named Larry Sinclair, and you folks need to Google Larry Sinclair. Obama is not a faithful husband. He's not even really a husband. And I'm probably going to get shot over this, but the guy is a raging homosexual that doesn't want anybody to know it. Why in the hell do you think he spent millions of dollars on a small army of lawyers to keep people from knowing the truth about his background? You know, and that's all I'm going to say on it. I'll probably get in trouble, but, you know, the truth is the truth, period.
And that was brought to you by, since that was a political issue. All righty. I'm going to take a step back to Benghazi now, because Judicial Watch a few months ago sued to get some documents. Not only is all this stuff about Hillary's emails coming out, but now Judicial Watch got the memos that showed that Obama and Hillary both lied about Benghazi.
Oh, surely not.
Surely not. You know, they knew 2 to 3 days before what was coming down. Now, I'm going to leave it at that right now. I'm going to probably address that in the next couple of days. But ladies and gentlemen, this is all coming out now. And not only has there been enough information to impeach Obama, there's enough information to go arrest him and put him in jail. Anyway, all right, I have got to go to John Kerry. John Kerry continues his trips around the world. And he's been to China, he's been in Europe, he's been in Southeast Asia and all this stuff. But let me go back before I get to him. Going back to the economy, the United Kingdom came out today and said they are now in deflation. Deflation is when prices go down. And I'll get into that in the next show. It's pretty lengthy. What's happening is now there's talk over there that the euro might be devalued. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to set the world on end if the euro gets devalued. That's going to start pushing some dominoes. Goodness, another break.
Last one of the day.
Yep, last one. All right, we'll be right back.
And we're back with Richard G. Medlock.
And he's still sitting right here. And I want you to know, folks, my shirt has dried. That
Thank
water I
you. We
spilled.
needed to know that.
Yeah. So anyway, I just want everybody to get that comfort level. So John Kerry, he's our esteemed Secretary of State and multiple medal winners from Vietnam. He is going around making all kind of just crazy comments, totally in line with who he is and his where he comes from. All righty. The first one, it's hard to pick the best one to start with. They're all just so crazy, but I'm gonna start with this one. He's meeting with the Chinese, and he tells the Chinese that because of global climate change in the United States will no longer fund coal-powered energy sources. So he tells this to the Chinese, who are building more coal-fired energy plants than anybody in the world. We're not going to fund them anymore. How about that? Okay, so that's one of his comments. The other one, I guess I'll go to this one first. The internet needs rules to be able to flourish and work properly. The internet needs rules to be able to flourish and work properly.
Well, I tell you, he better talk to Al Gore about that, because Al did invent the internet, you know.
Well, he did, and I don't think he did talk to Al, but Al advise him on the climate change thing to China, probably. Folks, I might be crazy and I might be unusual, but the long history of the internet that I've known and worked with and worked on and used has done just great. And a lot of corporations have been built on the internet. They've made a lot of money coming up with new ways to do things on the internet, like e-commerce, Amazon. I mean, seriously, folks. And John Kerry's telling us, oh, we need rules so it'll flourish and work properly. I mean, talking about somebody that is sitting in the 7th century and has no clue what he's talking about. This is just another pinko communist attitude to take over the internet. He wants a global system to control the internet. The UN has been trying to do this for years. And now the FCC has stepped into this with this net neutrality rule, which has been challenged by multiple corporations and organizations and will probably get shot down. But in the meantime, we're having to deal with it. But folks, there was nothing wrong with the internet. It was working just fine. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Period. But no, these pinko communists have to ruin everything, okay? The third thing that he's going around saying, and Tucklow, you will get a kick out of this one. He's talking to the North Koreans, okay, North Koreans. The Iran deal can serve as an example to North Korea.
Oh, how stupid can he be? Hey, boggles the mind.
I mean, this guy has probably never read a newspaper since 1960. Folks, we have negotiated so many times with North Korea to keep them from having nuclear weapons. It's uncanny. I mean, we sit there, oh, we'll give you food if you won't do it. We'll give you this if you won't do it. We'll give you that if you won't do it. They have nuclear weapons, folks, and they have missiles to shoot them at us. But I mean, I read that. I'm like you, Tucklow. I fell out of my chair laughing. The Iran deal could serve as an example to North Korea. Oh, an example is Iran is getting everything they want. So North Korea, you better come negotiate with us so you can get everything you want. I mean, this is our administration, folks. This is the people we have out there running around the world, doing what they're doing, and have no clue, no understanding. I mean, that's the quote of the week, by far. But I mean, he's got 3 quotes in like 3-4 days that just make absolutely no sense.
Well, the thing that's sad is not only do they not have a clue, they don't want a clue.
Clues don't fit their pinko communist agenda. So I think we're going to start using that, Tucklow, pinko communist.
Works for me.
Hey, this is their agenda. And I just, but, you know.
Get your breath, Richard. We're running out of time. You got more talking to do, son.
Golly. Well, anyway, program note. Tomorrow, Wednesday, tomorrow's May 20th, is up in the air because of weather conditions predicted for Oklahoma, where the home office is. So we might be on the air at World Reality or not. Just check on and see if we're there. If anything, you will get a music program with Tucklow. Is that correct, Tucklow?
That's correct, depending on the weather.
And
Yep.
and then Thursday, plan on us being back because that front's supposed to move out.
Plan on us being back at our normal time so that it can be simulcast.
Absolutely. So, and we hate to do this, but because of the specific type of equipment in Oklahoma, bad weather interrupts the signals because, folks, we work off satellite. And if you have any type of satellite TV service, you know what happens in bad weather. It goes away. And that's what happens in Tucklow's neighborhood. So that's the program note. So tomorrow's up in the air. We'll be ready if it happens, no problem. And then we will be back Thursday. So appreciate you. We just tip of the iceberg today, folks. You can go on my Twitter site, twitter.com/Money Talk USA, and look at, I post just about everything on there that I look at, that I prepare for the program, and even things that I don't believe in or agree with, just to put it out there. We're fair and balanced, folks, like some other people. So, Tucklow?
We really are fair and balanced. It's not just a saying.
And we do our homework. We just don't make things up. Some of the stuff, I don't have the energy to make up some of these quotes that are
Make it so easy.
So anyway, folks, hope you have a great day. Hope your weather is good where you are. And we really appreciate our audience, which is more than the United States. We're worldwide, and that's why we're called World Reality. And we will get back into some more meat of these things either tomorrow or Thursday. We certainly appreciate everything you do for us and your support. Tucklow, thank you. God bless everybody, and God bless the United States.
Amen. And we'll be back tomorrow, hopefully. And this has been a Go Shield Entertainment Group, LLC production.